So let's say we're going to add a canyon filter. We'll just start there. All right. So this isn't in the version that the alpha users have yet. This is sort of a behind the scenes kind of pre-alpha version. But you see now with each filter, there's going to be this area enabled option here. This is works very similarly to how you remember areas working in World Creator 2. Except you don't have to go to a different tab to specify, hey, here's the area. It's going to be its own little thing per filter. This is, again, like I said, this is very early stage development and working out. It's going to, again, be more and more polished out. But let's go ahead and just enable this. And we can see it's covering the whole terrain right now. Let's go ahead and lower this. You can see as I'm moving it around, the terrain is being reshaped just like an area would. We can rotate it just like we could in World Creator 2 and change its sizing as we see fit. Additionally, let's go ahead and say we want it just to be this little piece here. We can then enable its blend size. So if we wanted to increase this blend size, we'll see that where this is being blended in is going beyond the outside of this border. So as I increase blend size, you can see it's affecting the outer bounds of this box. There's going to be some more graphic enhancements to show you that you're actually affecting stuff beyond this box. But for now, it's just, this is the box that we have. And so, 0%, it only affects a really sharp angle. Now, this could be bad in some cases. So say, let's go to, try to get one that's pretty sharp. Here we go. Let's try distortion. All right. So for distortion, we can enable the area. And that one didn't do too bad. And of course, at some point, we'll also be able to hide this box. You'll be able to click a button or something to be able to hide or unhide this box. But one thing that is nifty about this area is that we can use it for importing stamps as well. And those stamps could be anything that you want. So let's go ahead and remove these. Add filter. And so in order to add a stamp, we have to basically add a height map, obviously, or an alpha map. So go to design and add a height map. Let's go ahead and click the none box here, which will display our height map options. Let's choose something from the provided RD texture folder. And again, if you haven't heard or haven't been a part of the live streams in the past, the RD textures, this list of how many items is this? Oh, let's see here. So it's 110 textures. So 110 textures will come with the full version of World Creator 2021 when it comes its final release. All right, let's see what textures we have for this. All right, let's choose this one. Blend all the way to the edge. All right, so this is a height map that if we want to. All right, so this height map is of that sand and it goes through all the way to the edge. Now let's go ahead and say we want to make this go to a certain location without changing any of the scaling or the height or the rotation and offsets within what the height map is offering. Because right now, in order to get things to go where you want, you have to scale it down. You have to move it this way and this way with these offsets, rotate it. Maybe I want it right here. Maybe I want it like that. And then I want to blend it in a little bit. There we go. And that's where I want it. But maybe that's not what you want. Maybe you want a little bit more freedom. So let's set these back to their default size. Then what we can do is enable the area. So enable area. And here we have dynamic control on adjusting its scaling. You can see the texture that's imported is scaling with the same size as the height map. And we can rotate it like this any way we want, just like we could with any other mask. Now, the only difference here that you get a little extra control with using a height map is you get two levels of blending. You get the blend size here, which we've learned in the previous the previous one that we used, is that blends that from the outside. And this blend size here blends it to the inside of the block. So say this block is set up to be somewhere around this big. So the blend size here goes to the inside, which makes perfect sense. Maybe that's a little too big. All right, so now see the scaling here for the height map is 1, which means it's 1-to-1 with this box, which is another reason why we've been able to scale this box with the height map that we've imported. But in order for this blend size up here to work but remember before, the blending range goes to the outside of the box, that height map has to be, the bounds of that height map has to be beyond the bounds of this box, because this box is always going to be, say, 1-to-1. So if we were to increase the scaling of this height map, you'll see that the height map is increasing in its scale, but only within this bound. So let's say we increase the scaling to 2. So it is 2 times the size of this 1-to-1 box. Then with the blend size, we can feather out that range outside of the box. So we feather outside of the box and we've blended that further and further out. So this blend size does the same thing. This is more of a global blend, so we can further define this however we want as well. So it's a pretty nifty case. Let's actually flatten this so that we can see that height map a little bit better. So this is seemingly what I'm going to do here in this next bit. So what I've done to further justify this stamp action, we have created a custom base shape and I've just flattened it basically. And that's all we want. We want to start with a blank slate, and you have, again, a preset of either biomes or a preset of stamps. I'm going to be creating a series of stamps, mountain stamps, grassland stamps, cliff stamps, rock stamps, all these different alpha stamps. You can use anything that you want. Any alpha map that you want, any height map that you want, you can apply here. So let's go ahead and add filter, design, and height map. Let's go ahead and search for another RD texture. Maybe we can search for something that's a little bit more, or has a little bit more features to it. Let's see. Just going to browse through here. Let's see what sand. Nope, don't want that one. These are all really tiny, actually. These are all really tiny textures. So in the grand scheme of things, these may not be the right one. Let's try. Try this one. Let's see where we get. Hmm. Libraries, substances. No, I want actual textures right now. Well, I didn't actually plan to be in this predicament. All right, rocky ground. We'll use this one. All right. So say we have this one here that we imported, and we use the area. Say I like this one to be in this corner. Scale it up a little bit. Make that blend go out as far as it can go. And let's say the height is pretty drastic here. All right, let's add another height map. And let's choose something else. Let's choose, see what does mud do? Forest floor. Sure, let's try forest floor of this depth here. Pretty interesting. We'll enable area here. So here is an example. If you don't know, I am working on creating a package for different biomes. The one that I'm creating right now for you guys is the mountain biome. So if I can find where I put that. So here is an example of stamp sort of that you'll get. You'll get a stamp of this mountain that I'm sure some of you have seen in Discord. So I'm creating a package of a mountain biome package of different types of mountains, from desert mountains to snow mountains to tropical mountains, different ranges and whatnot. So it'll be the first package of its type. And in this package, in addition to the world creator files, the texture files, anything that you could possibly need, the meshes, there's going to be stamps. And the stamps will include details like this that are just the alphas. Which, wow. There we go. Which, when you get them, you'll be able to do things like this. So create your own terrains, export them as stamps like this, and you will be able to design terrains just based off stamps that you've already previously created. Much like this. We're just using actual textures at this point. Say this one comes here. And let's add one more for good measure. Height map, none. And maybe, let's see what lava is like. Yeah, let's use lava. Let's hide these two real quick. Lava is very interesting. So let's say it's a bit lower. This is a really nice texture. So area. Let's scale it all the way in like this, about 50%. Scale it up. We'll make that blend size all the way up. So now, okay, so here we have an opportunity to design this even further. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this particular height map here and I'll just lower its overall strength. You can remove it and add to it as you want. We can even adjust its level steps. So say I want this one to be just a little bit more rocky. And this one, I definitely want this one to have more of that presence. Don't worry, this is a bit drastic, but we will lower its overall strength down to 50%. And this one we will just taper off and lower it down a tab. Now, say this is exactly what you want. As weird as this is, we can, let's see. This is how stamping can go. We can just create multiple stamps. I mean, these aren't even terrains. These are just textures that we got from RD textures. And that looks pretty gnarly right there. So you can see there's some artifacting there, and don't worry about that. To fix that, let's go back to that particular filter. Should be this one. I don't want to remove it too much, but what we can do, let's go to effects here. Actually, no, let's add a filter. And where's that denoise? There we go. Denoise. All right, so we can denoise just a little bit in the high range. Like this. And the beauty of this is masking. So this denoising here pretty much affected the whole terrain, but we really just want it to affect this height map here in the corner. So let's go and hit the effects icon, add a new distribution rule, and we now have this mask option. We kind of covered this a little bit before, but now it's a little bit more refined. So we're going to clear. So now we can see those little striations are back. So what we're going to do now is add. Let's make the brush smoothness 100%. And let's say in these areas right here on this hillside, we want to smooth that out a bit because we're masking in where this filter is being applied to. See? And you can see it's already instantly added. And we can even control, because of the opacity of this mask, we can remove any or add any back. If we were to lower the strength of this, we can then go back and feather this out even more so that we can soften this edge if we wanted to, so it's not such a harsh transition, because now we're painting with essentially 48% opacity or brush strength. So the more you paint, the more it'll come through. And there we go. What do you guys think about this so far? Being able to just stamp in what you want. And this could be even more than just terrains. We can pretty much shape your own procedural terrain, probably textures in this case, because what we can do is we can say, hey, yeah, I really like this, but I want this to become a stamp. All right, so let's add a filter. And there's two ways we can do this to create this island effect. We'll kind of touch on it here as well, but I'll specifically showcase the island effect in a later stream, maybe next week. We can do a zero edge. And the problem with zero edge is, as you can see, it sometimes works and it sometimes is not the right amount because it matters with the level strengths on what the stamps have been imported as. So you can see 8 and 9 is really the first ones that do this. But the zero edge really only works with sort of the procedural terrains. So what I like to do, let's remove this, is add the border blend. And let's find, so somewhere around here is a good border blend. You can see it's literally probably around right here is fine. All right, so obviously that was too much. And this is good because, this border blend makes this outside relatively flat and we could export this as a height map to use as a stamp later, which we're going to do. But again, let's create a mask for this guy because we don't want to have this much in effect. So clear this guy. So now what we can do is we can control exactly where this blending is taking effect. So really, mostly in this back corner. You can see how just painting that in has really edged that in. I'm going to reduce this down to about 30%. And I'm going to remove a little bit of what we've done. There we go. All right, now I'm going to paint the rim back in just subtly, just ever subtly. The border blend is a great filter for easy sculpting like I'm doing now. You can establish the level strength at which you want to sculpt. Use the mask filter distribution rule to basically sculpt in the detail back in or away. So we're going to, and what this allows us to do is keep a lot of this same detail without ruining the effect. So maybe, let's see. Maybe we want to lower this one a little bit. So as part of sculpting, what I've done is I've made the radius pretty small and feathering is still pretty high. So with a low percentage, I can paint a little bit right here. You can see that was a bit too much. Let's rotate the light so that you can see a little bit easier here. Obviously, you see that was a little too much. So with the mask, we can remove that. And we will lower this percentage even more and carve away just minute amounts of this effect. I'm not changing the detail so much of the height map that's there. It's still there. I'm just reshaping its elevations basically by using the border blend. And this brush is the standard brush right now, but we're planning on adding. You'll be able to add your own paint brushes with alpha maps as well. So that'll for sure come in. All right, let's go ahead and say we're done with this. We want to add one more filter and say, we can add some sedimentation if we want. Ridged crater cliffs, add a little more detail back. Let's add a little bit of canyon rocks, and we may need to bump up the sharpness one notch. You can see the strength is bumping that ever so much. There we go. So now we have quite an interesting palette here. And this, I didn't have to do much to this. This was just all of those textures sculpted together to create this really bizarre terrain. And again, let's go to this canyon here, apply its filter, and say I really just want that to be applied to this mass right here. So this is the example that I was referring to before. So we see the square here is where it's being applied 100%. But if we click the heat map icon here, which we'll touch in just a second. Oh no, I think I just crashed it. Yeah, I just crashed it. There's a bug where if you click the heat map a little too much, it'll crash the program. Yeah, it's not coming back. All right, well, what I wanted to show you here real quick before we end is the heat maps. Let's do a couple pieces. I apologize that happened. I shouldn't have been real click happy with that sort of effect. All right, let's do terraces. I want to control the terrace here. All right, so heat maps. We can see where it's being affected. Blend range a little bit. We can see this, where this sedimentation complex is being affected. And of course, ridge is being affected entirely. Now, before this crashes again, I wanted to show how you can actually change the colors to this on your own. Go to the gear icon, and we can do that here with the heat map fill and heat map background colors. So sometimes these can be nice to be. I think I did mine before was like, where did I go? Yeah, I went fully black here. Do you remember tweaking this? I had my own preset, but see, I can easily see this just a tad bit better. May change that a little bit later, but we can turn this off. Yep, there we go. And turn this back on and see this effect. Let's say we don't want that to be there either. Say we want to add this based on slope. So before, in order to do this properly, I had to showcase how to create this, do it based on color. So you add a color and you showcase where this is, but it's just much easier to do this now because we have the heat map icon that crashed again. Some unstableness there. All right. Well, that didn't work out too well. That heat map or that heat map button's a little stingy. All right, let's do this again. All right, the last thing I wanted to showcase is say you created something, whatever it may be. And you've gone through the process of adding details. I'm going to do one more so I can further exemplify what the heck I'm doing. Where is deflate? Oops. Deflate area. And border blend a little bit. All right, so say you like this. So then what we can do, go up to the export icon here. We can add height map if we want, so that we like this height map. So what we're doing is we're creating that stamp. So let's just select PNG for now, 16-bit smallest, and we're going to select the export folder. Going to put it basically where I had the other stuff from earlier. So sets, biomes, I'm going to select the biome folder. And then I'm going to export selected. You can see it's exporting right here. So say you created a terrain. This is you creating a stamp, so to speak. So this is the stamp that we've designed within the program. So now we want to use this elsewhere because we have two ways we can do this. We can select the biome here and then export this biome out, and that's perfectly fine. We just exported that out as a biome as well. So whatever this is here as well. But we've also exported this height map, and this height map represents either a brush if you want to import that as an alpha brush for when you paint, or you want to import this as a stamp. So the stamps are really what's important here. Let's go ahead and create a new project from scratch. Custom base shape and flatten. So now we have a flat terrain, and you know what to do. We hit add filter, go to design, heat map, or height map, excuse me, click none. Here's the heat map, height map. I messed that up. And here it is. Now it looks a little different from before, but that's because it's coming in at the level step 8. If we brought it in as level step 10, you can see that it is a little bit better, but because of the PNG, there is some of the issues with PNG right now. But we can specify what this is to look like, set its height scale. And because we have areas now, we can specify where we want this stamp to be. So this is a great way to make your own stamps, design a terrain, put it in wherever you want. Heck, I can even bring it in again at a lower value. Let's say we want this blend size to be a little bit different, and so on and so forth. And if we like this, we can obviously export its height map or using as a stamp, or we can export its the biome. So this is just one way that we can go about creating stamps. So it's pretty unique. It's something that is brand new. I don't think this is out yet for everyone, um, but it would be interesting to see what everyone comes up with once you have the ability to create your own stamps. Because stamps are a huge thing that we can do very quickly, as you saw in the first half of the stream. Before in World Creator 2 was a bit hard because you had to create an area, you had to set that area as something and edit it and then import that in. It was just kind of a hassle, to be honest. Not that World Creator 2 doesn't have its pros. I mean, it's fantastic in and of itself. But being able to do it with this sort of fidelity is pretty mind blowing. Let's say I'm going to import this. Might be pretty large. Yeah, there we go. Another area. And we're just adding detail on top of detail on top of detail. So, before we end the stream, is there any questions that you guys have about what we've gone over? We've kind of touched on several different things, to be honest. Um, it was really fun to kind of dive into stamping in particular, but just being able to bring in height maps and use those for design process is a whole nother level to everything that we want to do. I mean, everything that the world creator guys want to establish is providing the freedom for all of us creators to basically be creative, and what we do is just a whole new level of design. Better, too many options. First stream for me. Good time here. Thanks for all you do. Oh, thank you very much. Um, this was probably one of my most least laid back things. Usually we're just designing something, but there was so much to kind of break out and show with just that little step. I mean, there's so many options. I could spend all day showing and tweaking all of these uh, settings to exactly what you would expect. I mean, just masking in textures like this area. I just want this particular texture just to be on this side of the hill. All right, it's on this side of the hill. So now what? Well, we can add flow. Flow and then edge detection. That's a little dark. Oh yeah, definitely. Um, the next stream that we'll probably do is go over how to create physical islands that you can use for in Unreal Engine or Blender, showing you the process of taking real world data using Map Tiler or some other real world source, using that and tweaking that and texturing that to be used for your projects and as a background element. And they don't have to be perfect. They just need to be used for, you know, you being able to see those large, those really large mountain scapes in the background. Instead of using billboard cards, you can use physical meshes for those things, and they should come out a lot better. Back there. Anywho, now I'm just rambling. Oh, question. Can you export an Unreal Engine 5 with texture? Currently, the only export options, which we can go over real quick, and I'm going to create an empty node here. So you can create your own presets. You can save presets, by the way. We can change these however you want. So again, that's going to be part of the preset window here whenever we will crash back up. See, there's a crash backup of that. You can create your own export presets that you can populate in the preset sort of breakdown here at some point. Anyway, so the current things that you can do is export color, height, a mesh, which is interesting because it's not quite worked out yet, but it works out pretty well. Normal map and splat maps, which still has a lot of work left to do. So there is the talk of having sort of linkage from World Creator 2021 directly to Unreal Engine 4 or Unreal Engine 5. That's not in the immediate pipeline yet. That's going to be coming way later down the road, if I had to guess, just because there's so much left to do to this program to add. Now that they're really wanting to focus their attention on the more important aspects of within the program. But you can export different elements, and I'm going to showcase at some point how I'm going to create like a world creator sort of master material that you can use in Unreal Engine 5 to kind of break out. But the next stream where I'm talking about using uh, islands, like the terrain islands, I'll show you how to use that in Unreal Engine 5 as well on that stream. Hopefully I can do it next week, but if not, it'll be a few weeks later. Alrighty. Well, thank you guys so much for joining this stream. It was really fun to kind of break down some of the new things. I'm not sure when some of these new features are coming to the alpha users just yet, but they should be ready pretty soon. So with that, thank you again, and we'll see you next time.